Welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Back by popular demand, Season 2 wrap-up, produced by the IMB Studio, and yours truly, Andre The Beast Crayton. We got in the house the one, the only, the Brazilian bombshell, Jessica Javens Talk. What's up, girl?
Hey, Andre.
Back for Season 2 wrap-up.
I know. We got 3 more days, and it's launching next week.
Can we stay an extra week? I'm just having so much fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It is definitely fun.
I'm having so much fun. So what's been the fun part so far? You wrapped up Season 1. You learned a lot. What's the difference between what you learned from Season 1 and going into Season 2? Because you definitely have really went from soft-spoken to really like that beast Brazilian type.
I know. And, it's funny because when you come from being in corporate for so long, everything has to be, professional and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes to podcasting, there's so much that you don't know about until you actually go through, especially if it's the professional way. I'm not just, having a camera in my living room.
Mm-hmm.
So I love just the ability to learn so much that I never thought that was behind a podcast.
Such as what? That's good for the audience to know. Like what? Because everybody think you can just get a microphone.
Yeah.
And we got Ziggy here in a minute. We're going to get him involved in this. But you just think everybody just gets a microphone and just talks, and all of a sudden, it doesn't work like that. What have you learned so far?
Let me see where I can start. Number one is just to bring out yourself, your personality. And when you're on screen, it doesn't come out as much. So you really have to put a little more effort in making sure it comes out. Number two, the quality of the questions. That's key.
Yeah.
Like, this is not just, hi, how you doing, and talking about just regular. You need to know how to ask questions. That's humongous. That's the quality of the podcast here is the questions. Number three, there's no end of the list, by the way, but I'm just going to try to. Number three, that was extraordinary, is just meeting so many different people in so many different industries, and what they've gone through, where they're at now, what they're making happen, and the changes is just mind-blowing. It's just the best thing ever.
When does your season end, and when does the new season start? Because you're almost ready to go into another season. Man, time is like flying.
I know. So early 2026, we're going to be already preparing the launch for Season 3.
Wow. Any ideas, any tidbits for the audience to look forward to?
Oh, my gosh.
Like last night, you had over 1,000 people on your live. And I sat there and watched you. Look, I was getting pissed. I was like, hey. Whoa. I was like, look, you need to unplug for a few minutes. You know how we were talking about. You need to unplug. You're off the clock now. She's like, this is Jessica. I'm live. Oh, hey, Jimmy. Hey. I'm like, okay, do we need to go back on the clock and work? Because you don't know how to cut it off. But
that's how you need the different dimensions and different ways that you're contacting your audience. Right. I can't just, be in one social media doing one type. You need to be in different dynamics and different ways, so you're reaching people in different platforms and different things. Some people love lives. Other people like to watch a podcast. Some people don't have the patience for that. They want to watch the shorts. So you got to have all of that, How
has the podcast shifted where you were at first to where you at now? And then we're going to get into our guests. Has it elevated you? So what I mean, has it elevated you? Has it taken your game to another level? Like, how much has podcasting affected you as a brand is what I'm saying.
It is very important because it's
Am I asking the right questions?
Yes, you are. So what happens is there is so much that you can portray and help the community and create an impact, especially because I want to be able to reach people no matter where they are in the world, if you're just giving little its and bits. So the podcast just give you the opportunity to give much more content, depth, and talk about things that people are really wanting to hear. So being authentic, being bold, being natural, just like we are right now, there's no script. This is the real us. But also at the same time, the more that you practice, the better you get at it. The more you get to the gist, the sweet, to the honey, and all of those good things. What do you get? What do you get most
scold about when you're in the studio, when you're creating? What does your producer usually get on you most about? What are the 3 things that you get like yelled at pretty much about?
Okay. Number 1 is where I'm looking. Number 2 is learning how to gently interrupt my guest to ask questions, because some people, they just go into talking and they don't pause. They just go, 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 go. And then there's very little questions left. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you really need to know how to gently interrupt, so you can come in with the questions, and you're thinking about the audience when you're doing that, because you want them to be interested and you want to highlight the guest.
Right.
So let's go to our guest here and highlight him.
So we can ready to do that. We can ready to do that right now. So let me tell you where we're about to go with this young man. And let me explain to you, this has been a year in the making with this particular episode.
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
We're edging up on a year.
Edging up on a year. Yeah. And my deepest apologies, but my humble thanks for being so patient. This young man basically set aside everything to kind of work with me as I went through multiple surgeries. And I am so pleased when I saw him walk through the door, because within that almost year span, so many wonderful things have happened to him in his life. He's now one of the chief engineers at the company that he's at. He does audio production. He had just this 3rd album. He's a rapper. He's definitely Indiana's own. Indiana's own. 5th. My fault. 5th album. And let me just call it like it is. It's Indiana's own. He's repping the Indianapolis Pacers. Let's welcome to the Andre The Beast Crayton Show, the one, the only King Ziggy. What's up, big guy?
Man, oh man, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being so patient with us and so forth. Before we get started, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are. And you have a very unique name. How did that name come about?
Yeah, so I'm King Zig, and my name basically just came from when I was a baby. I had a really big head when I was born, and so my grandmother and my uncle both thought that I looked like the cartoon character Ziggy, and so it just stuck with me ever since.
And it's funny because you took it and you really turned it into a brand.
I've tried to. It's been really hard. It's been a journey with the rap name, man. I tell you what, because when I first started, it was in probably 2012, and so back then I just tried to come out as Ziggy, and I realized there was Ziggy Marley. There's
right.
Ziggy
That's the first thing I thought about.
You know what I mean?
Me
so
too.
there's like a lot of Ziggies out there to compete with, right?
Right.
And then so when I got to college, well, I transformed it to Ziggy is B2, because when my dad got remarried, my stepmom's family called me B2. I'm named after my dad, Brian II. And so they called me B2. And so I said Ziggy is B2. And then I just thought that was too confusing.
Right.
So I changed it to Zigzag when I got to college. And then I had to compete with the brand of Zigzag papers, rolling papers and stuff like that. So
one obstacle after the next, pretty much.
Right. And so now there's another King Zig in L.A.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see, like, when you do kind of try to form your brand and your name, you're probably gonna have to compete with somebody that has your name as well.
Yeah.
Unless you just come up with something so original. And
It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny you said that, because Yolanda was on Jessica's show, and we talked about the importance of brand, and she realized that there was so many Yolanda Smiths that she was like, but her middle name was M. And now she's always recognized as Yolanda M. Smith, because that M put her in a different category when it came to what you're talking about. You wind up going to college. What did you go to college for?
So I went to college for, originally I was just undecided. But then
we all are when we first get there. It's about
I was studying
partying
biology
and all that kind of stuff. So you studied biology?
It was too hard. So then I switched my major, and that's how I got into it was called Digital Audio Recording Arts. And so I'm actually going up there next month to do a radio interview with the radio station and talk to the kids.
Wow, that's nice.
Kind of about career path and stuff like that. Because unfortunately, they are thinking that they are going to cancel that program now. So
hopefully you'll bring some encouragement and say, keep this.
I don't know if it's too late at this point or what the deal is. It is what it is, but there's other programs out there, and the people that started it are going and doing great things as well. So,
right.
I think that's if you want to spin it a positive way, that is the positive, thing that came out of that. The one half of the people that started it, it was two guys, Jeff Zaskowiak and Albie Odom, and Albie got another higher paying job. So you couldn't be mad at him for that.
Right.
And then, Jeff's been working on a great streaming platform to really put money in artists' pockets. So I'm looking forward to talking to him about that in October as well.
Why not go back to the school, and this might be a career change for you to go there and become the professor and
I don't know
and
about
bring
all
some
that.
life back to it. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that would be that would be a work of God, definitely. But whatever's in store for me, I'm just trying to position myself in the right way to be ready for whatever's to come.
I love that.
Yeah. So you've already positioned yourself. So tell me, how did the that was real key. I want to focus on this part. When you mentioned college, we all go to college with really no sense of direction.
I didn't finish,
but you still went. That's
right. I did like 3 years.
That's the thing. You still went,
right.
And the shift changed there. I mean, biology became difficult. What was it about audio engineering and video production and so forth that lured you when you walked through that door?
Well, I mean, it just made sense to me. All my life, I played 3 sports growing up, so that's why I'm so into the Pacers and
right.
The Colts and everything sports. I played basketball, football, ran track. So when I came to be about 14, 15, and I started asking my dad, like, hey, for Christmas, can I have a microphone and a setup so I can rap?
Were you good at rapping?
At first, I wasn't.
Okay, we're gonna get into that too.
Because I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I couldn't freestyle. I could write something pretty good,
right?
And I was going through a lot at the time, so it was a way for me to kind of escape the stress of some of the stuff I had caused, some of the stuff I couldn't control,
right?
And it was just a way for me to express myself in a time when I was kind of confused and unsure about who I was and where I was going and everything, because at the time, I mean, I wasn't that big, I wasn't that tall, I wasn't that strong,
right?
So I mean, it's not like I was that much ahead of anybody sports wise. So
right.
As a young man, and especially where we come from,
right.
We're measured by how we perform,
right?
And at that point, academically I was doing well, but I'm not that into
you weren't
school.
saying that, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was like that too. Yeah, I didn't start buckling down until probably my junior year. I started buckling down because I was like, there was no options for us back in the day. The option for us was, you might get lucky to work in a factory, or your other option, you went to the military,
man,
or your third one. You had to be a great athlete. Fortunately, I was a great athlete. I was able to get a scholarship, but I had to put in that much effort to get the scholarship.
Me as well.
Yeah, but academically, I really wasn't that sound. I went through the motions of academic paralysis. Like I can do it, but nobody pulled me to the side and said, where are you really struggling? Are you really prepared? Even the SAT, you know how it is. Even the SAT scared the shit out of me.
Right, yeah.
I'm in there with all these kids, and I literally walked out on my first SAT. I literally walked out because I was like, I can't even – that's the first time that negativity set with me, because I'm like, I can't compete with these guys. And the coach took me back and said, we're going to let you take the SAT privately, because I just freaked out. I was like,
yeah, that's good they let you do that.
Yeah, I was like, fuck the scholarship, fuck everything. I can't do this.
Right, because why is this where, like, that was the difference between me getting into a really, really crazy school, and it was like just points on my SAT, and I had a good SAT score, but I think for me, like, growing up, I was always like gifted, accelerated, or whatever.
Right.
So I've always been kind of intelligent, which, has been its own kind of internal conflict for me, but like, they always stressed to me how important, like, my grades were gonna stick and be important, what I mean? So then when I got to high school, I was taking it seriously, and I made sure I got at least a 3.0. I tried to, But then looking back, I was like, dang, so middle school didn't really matter then.
No, it didn't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that kind of made me a little resentful towards school because
Yeah.
it was like, well, you guys made this seem like it was so important. And it was like, dang, I could have still been messing up. Like, not that the goal is to mess up, but, you know, I just felt like
and you know what,
it was causing unnecessary stress on me.
The grades really didn't even matter in your high school grades because at the end of the day,
well,
you were still judged by the SAT, and that was just a leveling point to say, okay, well, he's not that good in math and blah, 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 which was tripped up because when I took the test, I excelled in math. And I was like, something's wrong with this because I know I'm not good at math.
That's funny. That's funny you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually better at the ACT than the SAT. But, you know, I was getting recruited for football. So at the time I went to a smaller school. I went to Garrett Catholic. And, you know, back to just, you know, that expectation of perform, you know, I mean, it was so hard, like you said, just to get recruited and get a scholarship.
Yeah.
And it was like I had 1,200 yards receiving, 16 touchdowns, 72 catches my senior year, but I went to a smaller school, so you know, I wasn't looked at. Like if I did that at like Carmel High School or Warren Central
or North Central
or anywhere else but where I went.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm not mad about that, but it is something that you learn to, like, you have to look within, you know, because some kids, they can succeed in that environment, right?
Right.
They dig deep in within themselves and say, hey, regardless of the odds being stacked against me,
right,
and me maybe not being athletically gifted, you know, with my God-given ability, I'm still gonna put in the work that it takes to get there, right?
Yeah, I had that same mindset.
Yeah, you know. So.
You mentioned. I'm sorry, Jessica. You got a question?
No, not yet.
You mentioned a stepmom.
Yeah.
What was your childhood like growing up?
Man,
was your mom and dad real close together? When they separated, were you guys still close? I mean, what was that like for you, and still being able to excel?
I think, you know, looking back overall, the things that I went through as a kid, that was probably the hardest thing. You know, was just going through, you know, not having parents that were together, not having parents that were together, and just, you know, navigating what that meant, and, you know, the relationship with both of them. Because, you know, I think for me at least, and I don't know how it is for a lot of other people, like, they didn't really get along, you know what I mean? And they didn't like talking to each other, you know? So, and you know, it just is what it is. You know, people make decisions and people disagree with those decisions and they get upset and feelings get hurt, you know, and it's just life, you know, just how, you know, this interview went, you know, with the delays, and it's just how it goes. I don't ever hold anything against either of my parents. I love them dearly, and I'm very happy with the relationship that we have today, because we can talk about these things openly and just, you know, move forward. I mean, that's all that, like, we ever wanted to do was just move forward.
How does that affect us, you know, as men of color, when we have that disconnect between, you know, parents, and we don't really have that strong, whether it be motherly image or fatherly image? Because let's get real, they're dealing with their own shit, and they're dealing with the pressures of society in general. Right. Trying to raise kids, but dealing with the pressure of, you know, employment, their own sort of peer pressure. Have you encountered any kind of, let me call it, instability with trying to go into your own relationships? Because you was looking for that as we look for that in our house. Because when you hear, this is so funny, when you hear people have great parents going to say, oh, I never had that. Oh, everything was great. Right. You know, but what about the ones that don't have that? You know what I mean? That's a different thing. What was that like for you?
Yeah, you know, as a person of color, I think it just kind of added another layer to the mix of just like a stereotype I had to break, you know what I mean? Because already there's so many stereotypes of being black, right? But then being mixed, I don't think people really understand like the stereotypes of being mixed as well. So then you get it from both sides, being a mixed person. And so then not having my parents together, obviously, you know, and then, you know, my dad raised me, so people would always ask questions. Why is your, because we're in Indiana, it's a mother state. You know what I mean?
I've been there.
You know what I mean? So you gotta sit there and wonder why is this kid not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People really wonder, like, is she still here? Like, yeah, my mom's good. Like, no, she just dealing with what she dealing with. You know what I mean? And I think now, just looking back, I can see, like, you know, the sacrifices that she did make when she had to, and then, you know, the times when she really struggled and wasn't able to make those sacrifices. And I just think my dad was able to stay consistent that whole time, and he didn't have to deal with kind of like the addictions and stuff like she did. Like, he's obviously, all of us have our vices and everything like that, but you know, I think that affected my mom a lot more than it affected my dad. And I mean, you can see it when you see the direction that both of their lives went, you know. So, but like I said, you know, everything happens for a reason, and they both teach me different things. You know what I mean? So,
like what? What did your mom teach you and what your dad teach you?
Man, so I would say I'll start with my dad. You know, my dad always just told me, like, self-accountability. I feel like it just sums up, you know, everything that my dad has taught me. You know, to be a man is to be self-accountable and to be aware of, you know, the things that you're doing. I think he's always told me, like, you know, you can lie to yourself, but the only thing that's worse than lying to yourself is believing the lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So yeah, that's kind of what my dad taught me. I think my mom, she's just taught me to love who I am. You know, it had been hard for me, you know, growing up, just looking at myself in the mirror and being like, man, I'm really not like any of these people. You know what I mean? I went to predominantly white schools growing up, and so, you know, I mean, they didn't call me white, you know what I mean? So obviously I'm black, but then again, it's like, if I go around black people and I just claim I'm black, I'm black, then it's like, well, hold on, you about 20% European in you, man. You know what I mean? So,
and I get you, because even when I was in high school, me and Jessica was talking about that. There was an all-black school, which was Monroe High, which is where Deion Branch went to, and some of my friends I know, I went to pretty much all-white school. It was pretty much all white. And I remember trying to mingle, and the stereotype was unbelievable, because you had friends over there and certain people just cut you out. And it was like, okay. And when you get older, you go, now that I'm older, I go, wow, you know what? It was hard to even fit in high school.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
And isn't it crazy how it's changed? What schools used to be white schools back in the day, and now they're predominantly, you know, black or people of color. You know? Because my dad went to Pike High School, and when he went to
my brothers went to Pike High School.
Oh, okay.
And I always wanted to go to Pike because it was a prestige mixed type environment. I said, man, I want to go to Pike so bad, but I went to school in Georgia. But go ahead.
But yeah, no, and then so you've seen that change over the years now, where we've seen the people of color start to move to these neighborhoods in Indianapolis, and you know, a lot of you know, the white people have been moving away, you know, and you can see it in the city, you know what I mean? It's just and like I said, it didn't used to be that way. When my grandmother was going to high school, she went to she went to Crispus Attucks.
My dad and my families went to Christmas Attucks.
And so when she got transferred, for whatever reason, they moved her to Northwest High School. Wow. Space Pioneers.
Okay.
Right. And she was like one of the first black people to go to that school.
Really?
Right, yeah. So
that's crazy. And see, I remember when they did the integration here. I had just got out of getting ready to start college. And I remember them busing kids out to Beech Grove. And Arlington, and I was like, wow, they
don't teach our kids about this stuff.
Yeah. I'm like,
they don't.
Yeah, I'm like, that wasn't that long ago. You know,
no, not at all. I mean, it's literally, I can call my grandmother up right now and talk about it.
Yeah, I remember when they bust them to Ben Davis, and I mean, I'm just like, well, are you serious? Like, dude, that wasn't that long ago.
Right. No, not at all.
I have a question.
What's that, Jessica?
So, and I'm saying this because I did not grow up here. My situation was different, but I did grow up with something that carried around almost my whole life. How has that impacted you as an adult now? Like, do you see how it lingers, or what piece of it, although your mom taught you how to love yourself, what piece of that do you feel that you're still kind of dragging into maybe how you see yourself today and the decisions that you make today?
Wow. Yeah. I think it's completely shaped and molded my view of the world and my opinions on things, And I think, when you look at the course of history and when things happen and people ask themselves, why did this happen? Why? And I think we ask that question too much. You know what I mean? Because it's like the answer is right in front of us. You know what I mean?
Could you say that again? Because please say that again. Because I say that all the time.
We ask why too much when the answer is right
there in front of you.
You know what I mean? And we act so surprised when stuff happens or when people think a certain way. And it's like, no, this is all I've ever known my whole life. I can remember growing up, being in elementary school. I just had a conversation about this with one of my classmates. In 5th grade, when Obama was getting elected as president, he was running for president, and we did a mock, election in our class, and people were sitting there voting for John McCain, and we were just like sitting there wondering why, like what is it about him? We just saw, Bush was a Republican, you know what I mean, and we just saw what happened with him,
right?
You know what I mean? So like, what is it? Like, is it just because this is what you feel comfortable doing? This is what you've always known, or you know what I mean, or is there something deeper there? And so I've always just wondered, like, that's always been in the back of my mind. Like, what is the deeper, like, underlying message here?
Like, why can't you vote for Obama? Like, is the color issue so embedded in you at this particular age that you won't vote for him, but you still voting for McCain?
But, not everything's a color issue, Brian.
Really?
And that's what I was met with a lot of times when I would bring up these issues or be like, and obviously when you feel unheard, sometimes you can get a little bit out of line and stuff is a stretch. And maybe you play the black card too much. And I can be the first to admit that. But, a lot of times I just felt like a lot of stuff just kind of gets swept under the rug. We try to forget about that. It was for a good cause and things happen. You know what I mean? And really, when you dig deeper, it's like, no, these are preventable things that leaders of the quote-unquote greatest country in the world shouldn't be making. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we talking about people's lives. We talking about we're not just talking about taxes anymore. You know what I mean? Back then, I think I didn't understand that. And even then, I still think I wasn't really understanding that viewpoint, right? I kind of understood, like, we have to help the poor. We have to, when we look at, what do we measure a country by, right? What's your unemployment rate? How many people are homeless? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you might look at how much money the richest of the rich make, but I mean, there's outliers everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so we want to be the greatest country in the world, but we don't. We want to give the rich tax breaks and we want to take these programs away from the poor that need them. You know what I mean? So I didn't really understand that viewpoint when that's what a country is measured by when we're talking about being the greatest country in the world.
What people also fail to realize this, I used to be a former school teacher, and I tell people the difference between our country and other countries, this country, you have the ability that you can become an overnight sensation. Opportunities can come here. But the difference is you have to work 5 to 6 jobs to keep up with the Joneses. So does that make this country richer, or does the opportunity make us richer? Because if an average person could take average person working an average job 8 hours a day, go to another country, they can live great, because you know why? They're not keeping up with the Joneses. We're not trying to buy a $500,000 home. Here we don't have caps. We can, if you own a construction company, you can charge me whatever you want to charge for the labor and lumber. I'm not going to say, and I got to pay it.
Right.
So there's no it is the greatest country. It's the greatest country because we allowed to have the greatest opportunities for success.
But see, we've fallen in love with this overnight success thing too much. You know what I mean? When you look at things that have longevity in this country, like those things don't happen on accident. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to, again, that's where, like, positioning myself to where, like, when opportunity arises, you'll be ready. Like, I see so many artists out there, so many podcasts, like you guys are saying, everybody's got a microphone, and everybody thinks they can just talk about everything, and it just doesn't work like that. Everybody got an opinion. Well, that's great. They're shooting people for their opinions now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was crazy. You saw how many people. I had a friend of mine who told me he called me. He was like, Dre, I lost a lot of friends because of my viewpoint of that shooting.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, you got to ask yourself, were they really your friends? This is the problem we have. We can't even take a right to freedom of speech without it offending somebody.
Right.
If it offends you, why not just walk away?
Right. And I think it's also important to think before we speak. I think people are so quick to just say the first thing that comes to their mind. And it's like, yo, we got to think about these things. Like, the issues that we're talking about are not going to be solved overnight.
Right.
You know, again, we've fallen in love with this overnight success, this quick, instant gratification. And it's like, yo, let's slow it down. Let's talk about these things. And maybe, I had this conversation with my family. We go to church together. And, I'll skip the conversation and get straight to my point, you know, out of respect for the privacy of the conversation.
Right.
But I said, eventually when you're seeing all the students fail, you have to stop telling yourself that it's the student's fault, and you have to start looking at the teacher.
Say that again. You know what? I just told that to somebody. I told my daughter, because she was talking about a class that she was having problems with. I said, Cinnamon, it's not your fault. You're not in high school or elementary school anymore. You're in college. You paid that salary.
Oh man.
And they need to need to fix it where you can succeed. So you need to go to the teacher and say, look, I don't understand your method. Is there another method? Because like I told her, you're paying them and they get evaluated. If you drop the class and they get so many drops, the teacher's out of there.
Right.
She goes, Dad, I didn't know that.
Well, I think that's where we've placed so much stress and pressure on our younger generation to where now we're like just completely lost. You know what I mean? And that's where we see like words like brain rot and stuff like that was literally last year, the word of the year, Oxford Dictionary, the word of the year was brain rot. And, that really just spoke to me because I was like, man, it's crazy to think about the things that we were interested in kids. Like even when it just came to wasting time and looking at videos on the internet was funnier, was more entertaining, more thought-provoking and interesting. You know what I mean? Nowadays, people are just watching random animations that follow no direction and are just meant to literally rot your brain, like they said, and they're not even hiding it anymore. I think that's what's interesting.
I tell people that every day.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I said they're not hiding it. Shit is right there.
They just want you to be dumb.
Yeah. What has been? Go ahead.
I was just gonna go back a little bit in what he was saying about positioning yourself.
Right.
And I think that that's a very important thing to do, but it can mean so many different things. What does it mean to you? Maybe you want to share a couple of practical things that you've done that makes you position yourself to be ready for the opportunity when it comes.
I think for me, it's just like thinking back to the times when I wasn't ready. You know what I mean? An opportunity was there. First and foremost was sports, right? When I got to college, I was not ready. You know what I mean? Yeah. Academically, socially, athletically, you know what I mean? Emotionally, all the things. You know what I mean? I just wasn't ready. And it was because I was kind of in a little bit of a sheltered environment. You know, I went to a Catholic school. We wore uniforms. We went to mass every week.
You had structure.
And I wasn't Catholic either. You know what I mean? That's something interesting as well.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember when I went to school, when my dad told me where I was going, I was like, Dad, we're not Catholic. And he was like, people
go there that
aren't Catholic all the time. You know what I mean? And you can't take communion. When they give you communion, go like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But whatever. So then when I got to college, I just wasn't ready, like I said. So I think in my head, seeing back now, like I was like, man, like if I just would have came in there with just half of a game plan, I would have been cool.
Yeah.
But I just went balls to the wall, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, the parents we don't really, that generation, let me take it back. Right. That generation didn't know what to do because opportunities might not have been given to them. So you can't lead a horse to water. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But I can't give you the tools to prepare you if I didn't have the tools. I can only give you the resources that I got. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My grandfather is the first generation born in America. All his siblings were born in Jamaica. So
really,
we're Jamaican. And I mean that right there, I mean, it just goes to show you like uncharted territory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, we have to figure this out for ourselves. You know what I mean? And that molds your thought process in the way that you raise somebody. And so you learn to give these people grace. It's like, dang, let me put myself in your shoes for a minute. And how would I have responded? How would I have acted? You know what I mean? If I had the cards that you were dealt.
Where did you get so much intellect? I mean, like, you sound like, I know you heard this word, the old soul.
Man, I've been through a lot, man. I've been through a whole lot.
I can tell. And you know what? It doesn't come out bitter.
No.
It doesn't come out frustrated. It comes out with compassion, like you just said. Like, you've taken the wise advice of your ancestors and say, okay, let me walk in their shoes for a minute, and translated it into your life. And I think it clearly shows that there's so much humbleness, but at the same time, that resilience to say, you know what, I'm that generation that's going to make a change. And I 100% agree with you. We need to stop over looking into the glass of certain words and stuff and say, it's in front of you. Like you said, I love the way you said it. It's in front of, look at it, do something about it. And if not, then, excuse my friend, shut the fuck up.
No, totally.
Yeah, if you ain't gonna do nothing about it, then shut the fuck up about it.
Right. Yeah, because what is just like sitting around complaining ever gotten us? You know what I mean? And if you are gonna complain, there's a right way to do it. You know, living by the city, I've seen people, the teachers that have been picketing. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not complaining when you're the one that is raising our kids. You know what I mean?
Right.
They need a livable wage, like, more than they get. You know what I mean? They need more resources to be able to give these kids activities. You know, we're struggling right now. I see all the time and hear about, you know, that environment and how it's just kind of.
You know what I like to see come back? Job Corps.
What's that?
Trade schools.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, definitely.
It's
never been said like that to me.
What's the name of that school here that does trade?
Arsenal Tech.
Arsenal Tech.
I live right by Arsenal Tech.
Yeah,
yep.
you know that used to be a Civil War thing.
That's why it's called Arsenal, because it used to be the Arsenal.
I didn't know that, and I took a tour there, and I was like, wow, this school has a lot of historical Civil War stuff attached to it.
Yeah, we're trying to navigate where my girlfriend's kids are going, and that was definitely like up there. It's an interesting school. It's like a really open campus, right?
Yeah,
it feels like a college kind of.
Yeah.
You know, I used to play there back in the day, back when they had Hot 96.3.
Yeah, I remember
that.
Yeah.
They brought the radio station to the game and everything. That was one of the funnest games. My junior year was the last time we played Arsenal Tech at Tech.
Wow.
When I played at Guerin Catholic. That was back when Trey Lyles went there.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Trey Lyles?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
remember, he's still playing in the league.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you know. So, yeah, that's my era right there.
So what has been, before we wrap up, and then, like I said, once again, thank you for being so patient with me
man,
over this last couple of months, almost a year. But things happen for a reason. You know, there's a reason that this happened right now at this particular point in time. This is a two-part question. You got so much insight to life. What have you learned so far from everything? Like, you've been blessed with so many things, but what has been that one particular thing that resonates with you every day when you look back and say, this is what it was all about?
Man, you know, I was trying to think, and you know, the one that just keeps coming to my head is like, I can't blame myself, you know, and anybody but myself, you know. And you know, full vulnerability, like I've been in jail before, and that's really when I learned that, you know, was in jail. I think that's when I started realizing, like, you know, this complaining doesn't give me anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, my circumstances are all because of my actions. You know, and that is the point that I think a lot of kids that are going through things need to understand. You know, you have your cards that are hard in life, but your actions determine your outcome. You know what I mean? And I think for me, that was what I learned in that situation. You know, and I'm still dealing with the stuff that, you know, is going on with that. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's tough because, you know, everything happens for a reason, like you said. And so I'm just starting to learn now, like, you know, okay, as I have this intelligence, like, I had to use it for good. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you had to go out here and you had to spread the knowledge that you have, but first you had to gain the knowledge, you know what I mean? And so that was my trial then, you know what I mean, was, you know, then when I came out of jail, I was homeless for a while, you know what I mean? And so I've had to literally just climb my way up from the bottom, humble myself completely, you know what I mean?
Who was there for you when you came out? That's
my mom.
Okay. Yeah, ain't that crazy?
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's the one that taught me how to be resilient, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, my mother, God bless her soul, man. She's dealt with so much. I mean, there was a psychiatrist she had, you know, was prescribing her too much medicine, and it took me as a son to see that going on with my mom, to be like, you know, nobody is here for her to fight for her right now.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, I have to fight for my mother, you know, and we got her off Xanax and we got her off lithium, you know what I mean? And
those are some strong.
She had a stroke.
Really?
You know what I mean? She's had multiple strokes. She's been shot before, you know what I mean? So and I was there when she got shot, you know. I had to, you know, put pressure on her wound before the ambulance got there. So, you know, when you think about all of these things that happen to you, you pay attention to who was there for you in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because then, you know, there shortly afterwards was when my dad, you know, started to realize like I need to be there more in the situation, you know what I mean? Because I had kind of broken that trust with my pops to the point where, you know, he had to teach me to be my own person at that point. You know what I mean? I couldn't keep affecting others with my actions, getting kicked out of school, and now I had to go live with my mother, and now I'm in jail, and now I'm homeless. You know what I mean? So then when my dad steps in, he makes me go to rehab. You know what I mean? And I don't do much except for smoke weed, maybe take some mushrooms. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, I mean, it was a humbling experience. I had to humble myself. You know what I mean? I had to take my own emotions out the equation and just be like, hey, I'm wrong. Even if I think I'm right, I'm wrong. You know what I mean?
What about your siblings?
You know, I think that was my siblings doing great. I'm proud of both of them. And shout out to them. I hope they see this. My brother's at Butler playing football.
Oh, yeah.
And my sister, I think she's at IU Bloomington now. I don't know. I haven't heard from her in a while. But was at IUPUI, and I think she went to IU Bloomington.
When you say you haven't heard from her in a while,
you know, she just, you know, I think my sister, you know, I had a tough coming up, and my sister has a different dad than me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So for her, like, she's had to find her own way. And I think giving her the space right now
I get you.
has shown me, like, hey, like, you know, I gotta figure myself out before I try to be this big brother to my siblings.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Put the mask. I tell people if you're in an accident and there's oxygen, put the oxygen on yourself first.
Man.
You know, people say that's selfish. No, and I can't be good to you.
That's what they tell you on the plane?
Yeah, put the mask on first.
You know?
Yeah, so I can help you.
Exactly. Because if you pass out, then what good are you to your family? You know? So, yeah, definitely
Do you
are
miss
my
that?
motivation as well.
Do you miss that part because you got real? When you talked about your sister, are you trying to?
Yeah, you know, I think
because you're too close family knit not to have that particular part affect.
I think again, this is where I look at my actions, right?
Okay,
and it's like, okay, I think my sister has a lot of questions. We've never really sat down and talked about why my mom and I didn't really talk from 13 to 18.
I think you're going to have to get in the car.
You know what I mean?
And take a drive.
And it's okay. It's okay. I felt the same kind of emotions, but less because, you know, she's kind of had to deal with more with her dad. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know, so I never put my sister out there like that. Like, I love her to death, and I'm proud of her for where she is right now. She is focused on herself. You know, she hasn't blocked me or anything. You know what I mean?
And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes
you got to set boundaries with your family.
Yeah.
I've had to do that with my own mother.
Yeah.
You know, just because, you know, she was there for me in those moments. But then it was like, okay, we gotta draw a line in the sand here and be like, okay, this is a little bit too far. You know what I mean?
Right.
You've done your job, and I'll take it from here.
Wow. So tell me what's going on with you now. You got a new position. You like it. You're getting ready to release another new album. Great success on that. Tell me a little bit about the album.
Oh yeah.
You know, like how much have you evolved with the albums from the first one to the second to the third, and what makes this one such a unique project for you?
I'm so much more focused now. And that really just like totally changes what you want to talk about, right?
Right.
I think my girlfriend maybe watched some documentaries, like some Michael Moore documentaries. I know a lot of people have their like opinions about him.
I like Michael Moore.
And you know, I think regardless if you like him or not, you should watch the documentary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway, that really just kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like in the middle of me working on the album. I was like, dang, like that's even some personal growth. Like just kind of waking up from what's going on here. You know what I mean? Right. What are we doing every day? Why am I getting up and I'm out and I'm working? You know what I mean? So, you know, I think after kind of seeing like, okay, this is the country I live in. This is where I'm from. You know what I mean? That was what was able to help me see above kind of my just like current situation, mm-hmm. right? Because I think we just get caught up in our lives so much that like it's hard to see the bigger picture, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to see like, yo, there's people dying overseas and we're funding it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think when you think about like what you're contributing to in society and everything like that, you have to know what it is that you're contributing to, right? Mm-hmm. And so that really kind of laser focused me on like, you know, again, using my intelligence for good, positioning myself for opportunities, you know what I mean? Because, man, this stuff could all be over. And I don't think people understand that. That's not to scare anybody or just like, I feel like there's a lot of fear mongering that goes on, but I feel like also there's a lot of arrogance here and people think that we're invincible. And I think that's the most dangerous way to think, you know, like you have to be humble and you have to, again, educate yourself on what's going on, you know, before you make decisions, before you just go to balls to the wall like I did in college. And then you wonder why you're in jail and homeless. You know what I mean?
Jessica, you got a question before we wrap up?
No, I just want to say what he just said is absolutely so important. And I think that people are living in a lot of illusions because of just the oversaturated communication. They just read a headline and they go with it. And they don't take the time to really learn and to really get the information. They are just used to that quick and then their whole belief system and actions are based on pieces of information.
Think of how easy it is to do that, though. I mean, I'm first to admit it, right? I do that sometimes where you see a headline, it's from like what you think is a refutable news source. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then there's other times where stuff's just meant to trick you. They'll switch a letter around or put a dot in the name or something like that. And then you're like, man, this was just fake news the whole time.
Wow.
So I'm going to ask you a question before we wrap up. You're now work for a great company. You're now doing recording engineer. Tell me a little bit about that and how the viewers can reach out to you to get your services and your company service.
Yeah, definitely. I am on social media is the easiest way to, you know, contact me. You know, I'm still in the beginning phases, so, you know, we're definitely not like flooded with a whole bunch of DMs.
What's your name on social media?
So it's King Zig, but it's KXNGZXG. So I replaced the I's with X's. And then it's just King Zig on Facebook. Like I have a Facebook page as well. And then, you know, you can always just call up to the studio and ask for me as well.
Who's the studio name that you work for?
So it's Azimuth Recording Studios.
Okay. Located off of Keystone, you say?
Yeah, right off of Keystone. So like right in the heart of the city.
So somebody needs a remix, new artists. What do you guys do there? Tell me a little bit about what you guys do there.
They do everything.
Your job. What do you do?
You know, I'm gonna take this time to shout them out because you know, my mentor Drew. I mean, he's been working with a whole lot of people, man. He's just recently worked with Babytron was one of them. He worked with Vic Mensa. He was able to work with Mark Battles. Obviously, there's a kind of popular artist here in town. And so he's been doing a lot of good stuff there. I mean, a lot of like, I feel like it's kind of niche hip hop. You know, I'm like dropping some names right now. I don't know if everybody knows all that stuff, but you know, those are some like Big Mixes from Chicago. I've been listening to him. He's worked with Chance the Rapper. You know what I mean? And he's a real big, you know, name in Chicago. You know, Babytron, he's like kind of really popular with the young people right now. So that was like during All-Star Weekend, that was a really big name for him. you know, and you know he's done RNC Mike, I Swear Vazo, you know, just to name a few people. And then the people that have come through Azimuth itself, the owner Ryan Atkins, he's worked with Snoop Dogg, Eminem, you know, Joyner Lucas,
you know, I've
Migos,
heard of this
so
guy
many different
now.
people.
Yeah, now that you mentioned those artists. Yeah.
And you know where he went? Carmel High School.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that, man. And you know, my stepmom went to Carmel too, and I went to Carmel my freshman year, first semester.
Did you like it?
So you know, no, I did not like it. I did not like it.
You know, I got to
And
ask.
you know,
why
I just
not?
didn't grow up in that system, man.
Okay.
If I would have grew up
It'd been
going to
different
Carmel
story.
schools, I would have been fine. I
Yeah.
came from Fort Wayne, so I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody, and there was 5,000 kids in that school.
Probably more than that now.
You know,
Wow.
so that was tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so yeah, shout out to them, man.
Yeah,
Because,
I'm
you know, they're doing big things.
I didn't realize we had so many artists in this city, man.
That's why I'm here right now, because you know they just did Trees Fest in August, and I missed the deadline to submit for my performance. I'm definitely gonna get in next year.
Okay.
You know, but man, they always. I mean, last year they did Currency. I think they brought Currency back this year.
Really?
For Trees Fest, yeah. And it's set up that they went to high school here in town. The people that set it up, you know, and it's a festival that's been going on for like 7 or 8 years. I mean, people, and it's right here in Fountain Square. You know,
Knew nothing about it. I'm always in Fountain Square.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a hip hop festival. I mean, people don't even know we have a hip hop festival in town.
I had
every
no
year.
idea.
Yeah. And so I mean, it to accompany Jazz Fest and you know, Black Expo, all the different, you know, good things that we have going on in the city. You know, and so yeah, I'm just glad to be a part of it now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I think for so long there, after I got out of that hole I was in, you know, I was just like kind of like, man, that would be cool. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know, I had the experience of going to school and everything. I mean, I had a good background in it. So I was like, okay, you know, I've been going to Azimuth for a while,
Yeah.
you know, and then I started this job recently that I don't work anymore. And man, that's really what pushed me over the edge to just be like, hey, I need to sit down with the owner and make this happen.
And isn't it
You know
great
what I
that
mean?
the owner saw potential in you?
Oh
and-
man, shout out to him
and growth.
I mean,
What's the owner's name again?
and he's holding me accountable too, Ryan Atkins. He, you know, that's where I say it's a two-way relationship, because he's not just gonna throw me a bunch of you know, clients.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got to bring in my own people, you know, pretty much first before.
What do you
they
look
really
for in
trust
your
me.
own people? That's you can say something, Jessica. I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
You know, we could be talking all night.
No, I don't need.
So, what do you look? The reason why I'm asking this, because this platform is designed to educate and empower,
Right.
to keep that beast mindset. So the ideal, you just said something. You basically, he's giving you the tools within his company to really be your own company.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
I'm
Like,
an independent
so the
contractor.
people can understand that breadcrumb. He's giving you an
Right.
opportunity to run with it.
Yeah.
What are you looking for to build your brand, to amplify his brand? Because you just don't want anybody walking in your door. I'm pretty sure he told you that.
Right. I mean, it's not that we don't want anybody walking into the door. I think it's just everybody keeping an open mind about the situation. You know, I think I specialize in hip hop and rap.
Right.
But so for me, the challenge is being able to work with artists across all the different genres. You know what I mean? And so for some bands that come in, you have to mic those up live. You know what I mean? And so these are things that when you're trying to be an audio engineer, you have to think about. They have different events around the city that, you know, Drew was mixing for. You know, I opened up for Mark Battles one time because Drew was mixing that show at the Urban Theater. And so I was able to open up for Mark Battles that day just because of the connection. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I was just peeping game. Okay, you're doing more than just working in a studio. You know what I mean? You're going out to the shows, you're working these shows. And I think that was what I really started changing my mindset on. I was like, okay, these people are going to concerts and they're spending money. You know what I mean? These people are going to the studio. I'm going to the studio and to these concerts, and I'm spending money. And I'm doing this a lot. So it's like, okay, how do I make something back out of this situation? You know, I'm making music myself. I mix it, I master it. You know, yeah, people have done it for me. You know, Drew mixed and mastered 2 of my albums. So, you know, it's like, but the first studio album I ever released, that was fully mixed and mastered by myself when I was in college.
Right.
So when I was in that environment, I knew I could do it. And yeah, man, I just kept it going. And eventually, like I said, I got tired of my hustle and bustle of the 9 to 5, and I just decided to make it happen. And and I still have to, do my side hustles. This is the only thing I do. Yeah. And I think another thing I'm trying to do is like teach, which is really hard because.
Well, that's why I said you might be surprised what might open up when you go back to your college. That's right. That's an opportunity just to throw out there to see what could happen. You see what I'm saying? Right,
totally.
Before we wrap up, you got to do us a favor. You got a new album about ready to drop. What's the name of the song that you're going to release first, and give us a little hook of it?
Oh man, no, I don't. Man,
come on now, you got to give us something.
I tell you what, this is like really, really early stages of my album. Like I got a couple of things that I've written down, and I'm lying. I got more than a couple of things I've written down. I got some songs written out, not recorded yet. I'm looking to find time. I gotta definitely get some money together because albums are not free, and I'm doing everything independently. So I
know how it is with that.
That's all I'm saying. It's not that I don't want to give you guys anything. It's just I literally don't have it right now. Like I still a work in progress.
You got some old stuff though, don't you?
Some old stuff, yeah.
Give me some old stuff. Give me an old song that people might remember. I want to make sure they know you're the real thing.
Yeah.
You
can
sure. Flow.
You'd be like,
I started out, yo. Go get your mic. Let's give him a beat.
You put a beat on. I freestyle. But I say I'm gonna be back in a minute. Just let me finish. I'm too busy counting these digits. I'm gonna be proud when we winning. This the beginning. No, you cannot catch me slipping. This money talking, I listen. Life be teaching me when it do, I pay attention. I need to know that you with it. You need me, I get it. But I'm gonna be back in a minute.
I love it.
You know what, King? Thank you so much for taking time out for being patient. Come on the show. It's definitely been great. Long time coming. Jessica, getting ready to close out your season. You leave this Sunday to go back. You'll be back around January, December to start a new season.
Back where are you going again?
South Florida.
Ooh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
What do you want to leave the audience with before we wrap up this episode?
Well, if you guys are, of course, watching this episode, make sure you click the like button and you share this because this is going to inspire a lot of people, but also is going to be coming a kind of awareness. And like Andre said, this is the hot spot for artists, really. It's the hot spot, everything. And I didn't know about this festival. I'm so excited about it. I hope that I can make it next year.
Yeah, next year in August.
That is so cool.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. I'm so excited. So, and the more people know, the more that they can also show that support and help all of these local artists that are doing an incredible job here, including you. And I'm so happy that you came here and that you came when I was here so I can get to know you too.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
And when we have an opportunity to meet a person face to face, really, it's just, you cannot compare it. You can't compare it. It's so impactful.
It's totally different than doing a Zoom.
Totally different.
Yeah.
And I know it's not possible for you to do it face to face with everybody, but when you do have that opportunity, always you go for it. And that's why I'm here too. That's why I travel from South Florida to here so I can record here and do the most that I can because I really value that. It's an experience that you can't compare.
That's amazing.
Make sure you guys are checking also my podcast, Jessica Javins Talk. You can also hear this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and soon we're going to be in other platforms, guys. So keep tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another, and I do mean another, say it with me, exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton
Show.
Show.